If you're an entrepreneur starting your first business or your next big business, the best place to do that is not in your home country, but offshore. Today, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why it's best to start and stay overseas. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. This is Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. And the very premise of what we do here at Nomad Capitalist is we advise entrepreneurs how to legally reduce their taxes, how to keep more of their own money, grow their businesses faster, do so with a lot less stress, a lot fewer papers to fill out. And so the idea of, hey, I have a business, I'm going to build it up, and then when it becomes successful, I'm going to move it overseas to reduce my taxes. That's a great idea. We help people do that all the time. But I want to suggest to you, if you're a young entrepreneur, and we don't have, because we do work with people who have high incomes, people who have high net worths, if you're a young entrepreneur, I may not be the best person to help you, but I want to give you advice to get started off correctly so that one day you can come and be a Nomad Capitalist client. And the challenge with starting a business in the US or Australia or Canada, we'll go through some of the specifics in a minute, but when you build up a business and things are really going crazy, I talk to entrepreneurs all the time. They did $1 million last year and they're doing $5 million this year. There's probably not going to be a lot of time while you're growing your business at that pace. And I can personally tell you, we've seen Nomad Capitalist. There have been a number of years in a row now where we've tripled or more our performance, and it's been pretty frantic at times. If my business was not already offshore, I don't know that I would have had the effort to put into it. So that's the personal side of things that a lot of people don't understand because they don't run businesses as I have for my entire life. But there are some specific strategic benefits to starting the business offshore from day one, or at least from as close to day one as possible, rather than building it up and then 2, 3, 4 years once you have the money moving. Now, obviously, incorporating offshore may cost a bit more money. If you're in the United States, you can set up an LLC for 7 cents, right? But there's a reason it's 7 cents, because you're going to basically lock yourself into a system where you're going to pay more than had you gone and done it offshore. So if you have a little bit of money to go and set yourself up and to buy a plane ticket and get out, that's better for these reasons. Number one, if you're starting your business, you want to put as much money back into the business as possible. And so living overseas, there's going to be a lower living cost for you. If you live in a Western, what we call legacy brand country, your cost of living is going to be crazy. Look at inflation right now in the Western world. Look at housing. Even in Miami is one of the most expensive places in the US. Forget New York, forget Los Angeles. Miami now is expensive. Look at all the places in Europe. Look at Australia. Real estate is through the roof. Renting, all those things are crazy. And so if you can go to another country, if you can go to Tbilisi, Georgia, we talk about a lot. You can rent an apartment for a couple $100 a month, and a pretty nice apartment at that, potentially. You can come to a lot of places in Eastern Europe. You can go to Mexico. You can go to Southeast Asia. There's a lot of places where your money is going to go a lot further. And I've said that inflation is going to affect you less there because the prices were so much lower to begin with. And so that lower cost of living is going to allow you to power yourself further. You spend less on yourself and maintaining yourself, and you put more money into the business. The second reason is you can also hire more affordably in your business. And so, especially if you're an American and you want to take advantage of US tax exemptions, you're going to want to not be a one-man show. And so having employees is important. But do you want to hire someone in the US, for example? Now, in some cases you might, but I don't care if you need tech talent, admin talent, no matter what you need, you can find it more affordably with less red tape, probably with better attitudes, fewer risks in up-and-coming markets. And we've had people, with a guy who ran a hedge fund, hire programmers in Georgia for about $2,500 a month. He said, I was paying people $15,000 a month, but yet the guys in Georgia were thrilled to be working for that amount of money. So it's a win-win for everybody except for your home country, who it maybe isn't competitive enough. So you're going to be able to hire people faster. That's going to help you grow your business faster. You can take more risks on hiring. You can hire people faster because rather than committing $5,000 a month to a hire, you can go to an Eastern Europe, you can go to a Southeast Asia, you can hire someone for $500 to $1,000 a month. You can bump them up and give them more raises faster, so there's a better path for them. They get to learn from you, which is often an incentive. They may be tired of working for local companies in their country. They want to work for something that brings an international perspective. So again, win-win, but you're going to be able to grow faster and put more of that capital back into the business. You're also going to avoid what I think a lot of businesses are going to be seeing in the years to come, which is if you have employees in Western countries, those Western countries' tax systems may subject your business to tax in that country, or at the very least, some kind of tax filing. This is what we're going to see with remote workers, where people just hire a bunch of people in the US or in Canada or in Germany, and they really don't know how the laws work or the taxes work in that country. A lot of businesses that are just hiring are going to be in for a rude awakening. So by hiring a more flexible tax, low-price jurisdictions, you grow the business faster, you can take more staffing risks, and you potentially improve your personal tax perspective, particularly as an American. The third thing is you're going to bring a global perspective to your business. And I can tell you, having lived outside of my home country for a long time now, there's more friction outside of your home culture. There's probably stuff you're going to see in your employees, for example, in your customers, in your business, in your home country that you wouldn't really notice. When you go to another culture, the friction is greater. And so you're going to see more things, and you're going to learn more things, and you're going to learn to adapt, and you're going to be forced to evaluate problems in your business. You're going to be forced to evaluate things that maybe you wouldn't notice if you were at home, because that friction makes everything a bit more visible. That means, I think, you can grow a better and stronger business. You will become a stronger leader. You will learn how to manage different people. You'll manage to do a lot of things. So that friction, to me, makes you stronger and gives you a broader perspective than a lot of your competition, which, by the way, for potential tax issues with some like digital services taxes, let's say you're in the SaaS business, for example, and you want to avoid some of the up and coming taxes on what you do in developed markets, being able to serve a broad spectrum of markets by having an international perspective, I think is very interesting. We work with a lot of Americans and Canadians and other Westerners here at Nomad Capitalist. But we also work with people from emerging markets, and understanding their needs helps us build new business opportunities where we can go into new countries, we can expand our business, and we can potentially be a much larger business than if we only understood the American market, for example. So that's important. The other thing, let's talk about the tax perspective on your business. Obviously, going offshore, you incorporate in a UAE free zone, you incorporate in the Cayman Islands, you incorporate in Hong Kong, you incorporate in the BVI. I think the islands are probably a lot less interesting these days. But you can enjoy close to zero, potentially zero tax. If you're an American, you may enjoy close to zero tax or some single-digit number. And obviously, you can incorporate it in a number of jurisdictions. You might say, hey, listen, I want to live in Europe, and so therefore I'm not going to pay zero, but I'm going to pay somewhere in the single digits, because that's how it works with, let's say, living in Portugal or living in some other European country. So you're going to get your tax rate down to somewhere in the single digits, if not zero, on the first dollar in profit. And again, you're going to be able to do that faster. You're not going to have a bunch of profits, and then, I've had people call me. I remember a call still 5 years ago. The guy said, hey, I set up my company offshore 9 months ago, but I accept credit cards and I can't figure out how to get the credit card processing set up. So therefore, I haven't moved my actual business into the offshore company. And it's like, holy cow, I'm losing like $1,000 a day or something like that. And so, you've got to really be moving quickly if you want to move your successful business offshore. Because as I'm always telling people, figure out your tax bill. What was your tax bill last year? If you paid $365,000 in tax, every day you don't migrate that business, you're losing $1,000. That's a lot of pressure. And so when you set up the business to begin with, you don't have to do that. You just start off from the beginning, and you can enjoy low taxes or no taxes from the first dollar in profit. Now, number 5 is more important. What are you going to do with your business in the future? Are you going to sell your business in the future? If you plan on exiting, or even if you don't plan on exiting, who knows what will happen? If the bigger you build your business in your home country, the bigger the potential exit tax you'll face. Now, this is where every country is different, and so I'm not giving you specific tax advice for your situation or your country. But in many countries, if you build a business and you leave, they might say, hey, this business is worth X, and so we're going to apply an exit tax when you leave. Hey, you've got $5 million in assets. You've got this business. So now pay us tax on $5 million, and then you get to move it free and clear. Or they might say, hey, you develop some intellectual property in our country, so we want to be paid on the value. You need to migrate that intellectual property. You can't just give it to some foreign company. You wouldn't give it to someone else's company, right? And so you're setting yourself up for the requirement to pay tax. We talk about wealth taxes. We talk about unrealized capital gains taxes and how Western countries are trying to implement that. Imagine you're moving out of your country and you've got a business which you're not selling, but they're going to apply some kind of double-digit tax rate to it for the privilege of migrating it out, for the privilege of migrating your trademarks or your other IP out. They're going to make you pay. And so I've seen this situation too many times where someone's like, I got to come up with $1 million or $5 million. I think the highest one was, I have to come up with $80 million if I want to move my business. Imagine you build a business that's so great where you would have to pay $80 million. That may be more than what you'll have to pay, but I hope I hope that's how good your business is. But imagine that you can't at that point even move your business, or you've got to sell part of your business to raise liquidity to move out because you want to reduce your taxes, or you just want to move for other reasons, for personal freedom, for lifestyle, what have you, and you can't do it because the tax bill is so big. So I think forget the income tax bill even. I mean, that's very, very important. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs will pay millions of dollars in income tax, which could be put back into their business to make them more competitive. But if you're planning on having an exit for $50 or $100 million, this is one of the best times in decades to sell a business because the numbers are higher. Why do you want to pay a big chunk of that? And by the way, I've also had entrepreneurs who come to me where it turns out they get an offer sooner than they expect. And then it's like, well, hey, how can I reduce tax on this business I'm selling now? You know, we had a gentleman once who was selling a business for something like $60 million. And we got together with all of our different tax attorneys and all of our tax professionals. And they're like, okay, you can do these kind of little things to nibble around the edges and we can save you like 800 grand, I think it was. I mean, the guy is going to pay like an 8-figure sum. And because the deal was happening sooner than he expected and he moved too late, I mean, the most we could do was to save him a tiny fraction of that. And so if you want to avoid the exit tax, whether you're just going to pay the tax when you sell the business because you weren't ready, or because you're going to leave and not sell the business, but maybe have a tax on the way out because your business became too big and it became valuable, you should be aware of that. And so I think millions, if not tens of millions of dollars can be saved by simply saying, I'm going to start or very early put my business offshore. Maybe you run the business onshore just in your own name. Some people do that. I'm not saying that's what you should do. But some people just say, oh, I'm just kind of playing around with this. I'm just doing it in my own name. It's not my legal advice to you. But, then maybe you incorporate it for the first time overseas. But tens of millions of dollars potentially are at stake. And obviously also the viability of the business from day one, being able to have more money to put in the business from lower cost of living, being able to hire people faster, being able to move more competitively. All these are reasons why you want to put your business offshore to begin with. Don't stop now. We've got well over 1,000 more videos here on YouTube for you to watch and learn how to go where you're treated best. And if you want to work with Nomad Capitalist personally, go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, learn about our unique, tried and true process, garnered over years of experience, and learn how you can become our client.